What's up, guys? Hey, everybody. Good to see you. What's up, Alexis? You're outside today, not the colorful background. Good to see you guys. Isabel and Paul. Good to see you, Paul. Robin. What's up, Larry? How are you today? Pascal, always good to see you. Serene, good to see you. Stephen Scoggins, good to see you. James, Anita. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Inner Circle. Good to see you. Diana Tang, what's going on? Erica, good to see you. Hey, everybody. Malcolm, what's up? Good to see you. All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Inner Circle. If this is your first time here, raise your hand if it's your first time here. Let's see, we got a few. We got Jason and Sharon. We got a bunch of people. If you're new, say hi to everybody new. Those of you who've been with me for years, I see so many familiar faces. Hey, Eleanor, good to see you. And Samita, good to see you. What's going on? Hey, so if you're new here, and it's only a handful. This is the Inner Circle. I've been doing this for like a decade, every single month. You guys, this is like family. I see some familiar faces. We get so many great messages. And the whole theme of this, and if you're with me for a long time, it's just a reminder. The whole theme of us going live every month is just to stay, really the main thing is for us to stay engaged, to stay plugged in. Life can pull us in a lot of directions. The craziness of the outside world can allow us to forget about our dreams or find imposter syndrome or lose our confidence, lose our drive, lose our desire, lose our focus. We get overwhelmed on not knowing where to start, and then we don't start at all. All those things happen. They're life. Add in 2.5 years of COVID. Now add that we're going into an economic winter and inflation high, which is gas and food, and all the prices are high. We add that we're in a polarized time in history where it feels like everybody's trying to push us apart when we're trying to come back together. Anybody feel that way? Wouldn't we rather all just get together and find our common ground? The media and the world want to tell us how different we are, but I think we have way more in common than everybody's telling us. Who in here wants a better life for their family, right? Who wants to find more peace in their life, more harmony? Who'd love to help others in need, right? Who believes in a higher power or something that we're just connected to something bigger, right? I mean, we definitely have way more in common than we don't. And if we all were exactly the same, wouldn't that just be a boring world, right? So we're in this time of a couple of 2.5 years of COVID, and then we go into a place where now we're in an economic downturn, recession looming. I think by July 1, they'll officially announce we're in a recession. If you ask anybody, we're actually in it. And what does that do? The reason, again, if you're in Inner Circle, you're going to see every month our main themes are either marketing, mindset, or momentum. And I'm always just going to share what's on my heart. I'm going to share what's going on in my life that month. I'm going to share any breakthroughs I had. I'm going to share my experience because I was in business for myself in 2009 or in 2007 when we went into a recession, but I was also in business for myself in 1999. Who remembers the internet crash, right, of 99? There's not many of you on here, but I was in business then as well, naive and didn't even know it was a thing. By 2007, I understood it more and had smarter friends, and we made transitions and shifts in advance, and we were able to thrive through that shifting time. So I think when I plan for an Inner Circle, I just reflect over that month and say, if I was just starting in business, if I wanted to shift my life, my income, my success, my happiness, my joy, what would I like to learn? So that's really, I'd love to say that there's more thought to it than that. This is kind of family. There's not one routine in my life, in my experience. We need this connection. We need to be plugged in. We need not to forget what our dreams are. We need not to let imposter syndrome be in control of us. We can't let the inner self-doubt say, play small, especially now. With the world shifting, I just want to tell you, this is not a time to sit on your hands. I did an interview 2 or 3 days ago with Tom Bilyeu. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu on YouTube. He's really good. Dear friend, he's great. He interviews wonderful people. He's really smart. So I took my kids with me. I had a couple podcasts. I went and saw my friend Brendan Burchard, and then I flew down to go see Tom Bilyeu, and I brought my older kids, my 13 and 15-year-old, and let them see what their dad does. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. And as I was talking with Tom and talking about where the world is going and the shifts happening, it just reminded me of some of the things that I wanted to share today. And I'm going to, Brendan's amazing, isn't he? And I forget exactly what I wanted to tell you what Tom said, but I'll get to it in a second, I promise. But going into, Steph, don't laugh at me. Going into what's happening. Oh, I remember now. Going into where we're going. I wanted to spend today, this inner circle, talking about how it's much better to prepare and anticipate rather than react. So that's the whole theme of today. Let's prepare, let's anticipate rather than react. And what I know is, who in here is in the real estate industry or the real estate business or was or knows somebody that's in it? If you know somebody in the real estate space. I'm going to use the real estate space as an example. When the economy shifts, interest rates went up 0.75 yesterday. All of these things affect, and if you're old enough to understand, there's a bigger byproduct coming, right? The housing industry, there's no way it can't be affected. It's coming, right? But when you're in an industry that's been booming for 10 or 12 years, and if you're in the mortgage industry or the housing, if you sell houses, if you build houses, if you build if you're in it, the last thing you want to do is face it and go, no, maybe it's a little hiccup. Oh, this will happen quick, right? And we get a little amnesia to the way it used to be. So instead of saying, no, it's going to be fine, if I truly care about you guys, what I want to do today is help prepare you, help anticipate, not make it worse than it is, but not make it better than it is. So that's my goal today, is let's talk about where we are. How does it affect you? How does it affect your mindset? How can we, oh, that was it. Damn, I'm back to the Tom Bilyeu thing. A little bit squirrel there. I had it, but I'm back. You know, when things change, when it's scary, when something new happens, what is it we always talk about? We've flight or fight, right? We got the flight or fight mechanism. Tom Bilyeu said something I never heard. He said the third F he thinks is even more relevant in today's world, and that's freeze. That's freeze. That's what I want you to think about today. That was my notes here. My team puts together nice cheat sheets for me, and I write all over them so much and so sloppy I can't read my own writing. But what I wrote was the three Fs: fight, flight, or freeze. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong. Thank you, Nikki, for writing that down. With all the crap that's led up to this recession, this inflation of 2.5 years of COVID, where COVID did things like made us realize, screw that job of me going in every day and not being with my family, not doing something I love, being unsure, missing, screw that. I'm out on that. 82% of people right now want to quit or leave their job to do something new or do their own thing. Never before has it been. The worst it was ever prior to this was 48%. And that was a couple decades ago. So 82% of people are like, COVID made me realize. Maybe you went through a little hardship, but with that shift comes uncertainty, right, Shannon? Right? It's a little uncertain. And then all of a sudden you slam into gas, the highest it was, and inflation. And now you're like, should I not buy my house? Should I wait to buy? Should I wait to sell? What should I do? Should I invest? Should I take my money out of the stock market? Is my 401k going to go away forever? Should it go back? Should I take it out and sit in cash? But if I do that, they say cash is trash. So if I sit on cash, it's trash. But if I leave it in the market, it goes down. Right? And all of a sudden this uncertainty builds. And if uncertainty builds, more than I've seen in my 53 years on this planet, guess what happens? Freeze. I don't know if I should do my self-education industry. I don't know if I should do anything with investment. I don't know. And when you feel that way, you freeze, you sit on your hands, you do nothing. And if we're family, which we are, then I'm going to tell you this is not a time to freeze. In fact, this is a time to thrive. This is a time to gain capabilities, because most people are going to freeze. More than you know, and we're not there yet. If people smarter than me, where we're going I get the chance to have great conversations, more and more uncertainty will climb, confidence will go down, and more freezing will happen. So if everybody's standing around frozen, what happens if you're the one that can build a tougher mindset, that you can anticipate this, you can prepare this, you can actually get momentum, this is your time to grow. In 2007, 8, and 9, when the world crashed, and I know I've shared this with you guys before, when the world crashed, my real estate education, self-education industry grew faster than ever before, and I ended up owning the whole industry. Going into '07, I was one of about 7 in my space that were big. By 2009, I was the only one left, and our company, my brand, had got to almost $100 million a year. We were doing almost $2 million a week in sales. By 2009, 2010, we grew like this because the world needed us. And I wasn't selling how to get rich at that time. I was selling people how to secure themselves and be safe and do a deal or two every other month to make enough to get by. I said, if there's other people out there who could tell you how to get rich for doing nothing or rich overnight, then maybe you should try them because that's not me. And that message resonated and we grew like crazy. I believe this is not, what I hope to do today is to reframe your mind to really know things are going to get tough for a lot of people, but this is your time to exponentially grow. This is your time to step in the next level leader that you have living inside of you. This is your time to crush that self-doubt even more, crush it harder, stronger than you ever did before. This is your time to get rid of the old stories and craft a new one. This is your time to realize that most people around you are gonna freeze or run or go backwards, and you have to be that leader to be the example for your family, be example for your friends, help those that need help. And when you start looking through that lens, when we change that mind, we could say, I'm sorry it's coming, but bring it, right? Who's up for a little shift today so we can feel like that, bring it, right? And listen, in an hour together, I'm not gonna give you all the answers, but I wanna give you the foundation so you can find the answers. Like that's the goal. So many people are looking for the exact thing. Where should I invest? How should I go stronger? What should I do if I have some cash sitting on the side? What should I do about my self-education? What? All of those things can be overwhelming if you're looking for all the different answers. Here's what I know. Become the thermostat of your life. Gain the courage, gain the confidence, and then you can boldly move forward. Learn from those who've already been there, but boldly keep going rather than sitting on your hands. So that's my goal for today. Change hits people hard. Or change can be your friend. That's what some of the things we're going to talk about today. Who's up for that? You guys up for this today? And you can see if you're brand new, if you know me in any other category, like if you're a part of Project Next or see me on Mondays, you're part of Project Next Level or part of our, Mastermind Academy. There's always a different dean, not too much different, but different dean shows up. My inner circle is kind of like family, so I don't over prepare. I write all my notes and just go. So if you guys are all right with that style, that's what I'm gonna do today. And usually, I never get through my notes because something else hits me. I kind of get in a different flow. It's like talking to friends. So I want to talk about change. I want to talk about when things shift, we do have to try new things, whether that's a different type of marketing, a different kind of messaging, a different kind of effort. Alter what we teach, how we do a sales page, how we do an opt-in page, what our subject line is. It could be in a million different categories, but we have to adjust and change. And I was trying to think, how does change become less scary? Change can really become less scary when we think about altering our approach. So I'd love for you to write that down. Again, sometimes when I teach, it's probably like 7th grade to some of you guys, but then just consider me your reminder service, right? Altering our approach. If someone could put that in the chat. Think about that. Change is nothing more than, who moved my cheese? If the cheese isn't there anymore, what do we have to do? We have to alter our approach on how to get food, right? I've told this silly story to you guys. Some of you have seen it. Some of you have a fishing story where I wasn't catching fish and I slowly altered my approach and then I started catching a lot of fish. I won't go into that story because too many of you know it. But I want to tell you another story that was really personal. And I like being a part of Inner Circle because I hope I get to share things with you that you won't hear any other place. I've shared a little bit about this before, and I don't know where or what stage I was on, but never in this depth. So my daughter, Brianna, is 15. She got her permit yesterday. Damn, that happened fast. And my daughter, ready for this? My daughter showed me the car that she wants, and she knows since she was little that I'll pay half. So whatever car she wants, I'm gonna pay half, she has to pay half. So she's trying to figure out how she can get herself like $400 a month right now while she's in high school, while she's playing softball. I'm like, figure it out. And if you miss a payment, you lose the car, right? Can I tell you how bad I just want to go buy her a car and put a bow on it. Can I tell you, Elaine, I just say, I can afford it. Nobody could afford to buy me a car when I was a kid. I had to work for 2 years, save up to get my first car. I want to go buy her any car she wants, put a bow on it, and it is the hardest thing I've ever experienced. Whoever thought that's like first world problems, right? I can't buy it for her though. She'll wreck it and treat it like shit, and she won't fight for it. It's so freaking. So I worked my whole life not to be broke, and now I'm not, and I can't go buy my daughter a car. Sorry, I digress. So but you ready for this? She came to me yesterday. She wants a minivan. She wants a Honda, like, back door sliding open minivan. Like, I either raised her well, or she's just, like, she doesn't want anything fancy. Even if I bought it for her, she's like, she doesn't like fancy. She wears, like, Converse and, anyway, so I'm going to help her get a Honda minivan. She's like, I just think it'd be so cool. You hit a button and the doors slide open. I'm like, there's a lot of moms in the 80s when Chrysler came out with that minivan that hated Chrysler for creating something so boring. Anyway, I digress. My daughter is the easiest human I've ever got along with in my entire life up until my wife. She just, it's like smooth. It's like silk. I probably raised my voice with her twice since she's been born. She gets it. She makes smart decisions. And then God said, oh, that was easy. I'm going to give you your son, Brody. And Brody, we just, like, since he was 2, it's like we just look through completely different lenses. It's like God gave me this challenge. And I bumped heads with him a lot. And I got frustrated with him a lot. And I still can, but not like I did. I used to get very frustrated at points where I was like, I don't even know how to parent him. Like, if I say white, it's got to be black. If I say gray, it's pink. If I say left, he wants to go right. If I tell him I'll pick you up at 3:30, he's like, no, you got here at 3:14. It wasn't 3:30. Like, there's so many things, like just different personality traits, right? And I'm like, how could he be mine? We think so different. And then I read a book called Shoe Dog about the founder of Nike. Great book, a great entrepreneur. If you like entrepreneurial stories, listen to Shoe Dog. It's a great story. It's a great conversation. And at the end of Shoe Dog, the founder of Nike, Phil Knight, talks about now that he's built this, multi-billion-dollar brand and has everything he wants. He has a bucket list. And he said, there's 2 things he realized. I want to share this because this really stuck with me in my life. He said, 1, all the things that were tough, that I was just trying to plow through to get to the good life. He said, if I could put the real things on my bucket list, because he's a billionaire, he's like, I can do all the rest. I wish I could go back to the time we couldn't figure it out, when we were just in my garage selling Nikes, when our supply chain stopped, when the bank called our loan and our merchant processor stopped processing, and the time we got sued by the federal government. He's like, I thought all that was the horrific times, and I couldn't wait to get to these times. And I realized now, going back, that's the time I was stretched the most. I learned the most. I bonded with other people. I had to learn from other people. They were the times I was actually alive. If I had a bucket list, I would go back to be able to tell myself, these are the actual good times. This is when you feel the most alive, when you bond with people the most, that these things are happening for you to make you stronger, better. Oh my God, I was like, holy crap. I know you've heard it, but this book was so good, it just hit me at a moment. I was like, damn it, I want to enjoy all of it. But then the second one was the most powerful. He had 2 children, just like Brianna, my daughter, and just like Brody. He had one that wore Nikes, loved Nikes, works for Nike, and his other boy wore Adidas and was embarrassed of the Nike brand. And everything he did with his dad was like this, and they fought and they argued and they didn't get along. And at 27, his son died while scuba diving. And he said, if it was on my bucket list, I wish I could have figured out the blueprint of my son. I wish I would have taken the time to figure him out. And holy crap, that punched me in the face with my boy Brody, because I realized that I was the adult. I had to figure it out. It was my job to figure out how to communicate with him, how to align with him, figure out his blueprint. That was my job. And it wasn't easy. And in that moment of change, I was the one that changed. I started trying different things. If I got really serious with my boy, like he did something that was disrespectful and I got really assertive and mad, he would just hide. He'd shut down and he'd be like, all right, Dad. And he wouldn't talk to me. And if I was super nice to him, kissed his ass for lack of a better word, he didn't really appreciate it. And that could be tough as a parent. You're like, all right, if I'm stern with him, he shuts down. And if I'm nice to him, I don't get appreciated. Screw that little bastard. Like, that's the feeling you can get even when it's your own child. Excuse my language, right? But I realized I can figure out businesses that can do $100 million a year. I can't figure out my own flesh and blood. I can't figure out my son. And the reason I'm sharing this because when something's important to you, you don't give up. I don't go, oh, I tried being nice to him, didn't work. Tried being stern, didn't work. I'm out. Go move out. Go, like, you don't do that. It can. I have friends and family that have done it. My dad and I kind of did that, so I kind of got that inside of me. I probably went a decade at one point without talking to my father. He didn't want to talk to me. I didn't want to talk to him. Done. And I realized in a moment, well, it sounds like the song. Brody was just like me. My mom moved away when I was 10. She moved to a different state, and I only saw her once or twice a year for the rest of my life. Still to this day, I see my mom twice a year since I was 10. What I realized when she did it, I missed her so much for about 6 months. Anybody ever tuck it away, just put a lock on it and go, I ain't gonna feel that, that hurts. She's done, I'm out. I thought that was something I learned because my mom left. And I realized it was probably innate because my son's got that. I get harsh with him, locks the box. So because it meant something to me, I didn't give up. And I kept trying. And I read the love languages of children. I've read it in relationships, but I read love languages for children. And I realized my son didn't want his butt kissed, and he didn't want to be really mean, and he doesn't like me. It's not about buying stuff. My son loves acts of service. When I help him with his homework, when I watch him play a video game, when I watch him play basketball, when I take him to the store just to go look at different things and compare, when I'm generally interested. At night, when I take him a snack and bring him a glass of water before he goes to bed, acts of service, he lights up. It's like, I love you, Dad. I love you so much. I could cry now. And because I kept trying, oh my God, I'm emotional. Because I kept trying, because it meant that much to me, I tried a bunch of approaches over a year. Sorry, I'm so emotional today. Over a year working with my son to figure out his blueprint. And now he's 13 and he's independent and he's growing and he's starting to wear bracelets and he put a gold chain on and he's doing this new like Instagram hairdo and he's maturing and he likes girls. I got to go into teenage years where I'm aligned with my son. I've always loved him, but now I feel aligned with him and we're connected and he tells me about everything. And out of all these years, the last 2.5 have been the best 2.5 years ever. And I'm not going to go to my grave someday with regret saying, why didn't I connect with my boy at another level? He's my flesh and blood. Now that's an emotional story for me, and I'm not trying to make it all about me, but what I'm saying is, do you know why I figured it out? Because my boy, it's important to me. If I could figure out how to do $100 million a year in a business, I better be able to figure out how to bond with my own son. So I say that anything on this planet, like Marie Forleo's book, is figure-outable if you have a deep enough reason on why it should be figured out. So when we go into a recession, when you're trying to launch your course, when you're trying to understand your marketing, when you're trying to build your following on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, can it be overwhelming? Hell yes. Can you fail a lot? Absolutely. Does it seem like it's impossible to find a solution? When I first started with my son, when I was tough on him, he ignored me. When I was nice to him, he didn't appreciate me. That seems like it. I've tried everything. The hell with the little bastard. I'm never talking to him again. Right? It seemed like I tried everything. But did I? The man who created Nike, biggest sneaker, I have Nikes on right this very minute. The man who created that, he didn't take the time to figure out his son. He figured out his business. Failed a million times. You read that book, you won't believe how many reasons he should have quit. When the money wasn't there, when the sneakers weren't made, when the government sued him, when the banks took called his loan, when the credit card processors wouldn't process anymore, when the lease was up and they threw him out of his store. All of those things should have been or could have been screw this, the sneaker business isn't going to work for a guy that doesn't have money. That would have been the easy thing. But something inside of him said, let's keep going. And I realized I have that in business, and I wasn't applying it to my son. And when I did, life will never be the same, as Tony Robbins says. So I guess the question is, how important is it to you to find your freedom, to find your voice, to impact others, to create real success, to be more independent, to have control of your time, to find the woman or man God designed you to be free, to have no boundaries, to not be afraid anymore, to thrive during this economic winter? I don't know which one is most important out of the ones I said. Veronica, I can see you're emotional today. Thank you for being so real and raw. But find what's so important, right? Let's find what's so important. And the whole thing about change, what did I say before about change? You got to find a different approach. My approach to my son for a decade, for 10 years, wasn't working. Who's the fool? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I was doing the same crap over and over again with my son, expecting a different result. If I did the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result in my business, I would not be here in front of you. If I did the same thing over and over again when we went into a recession, I would not be here. If I did the same thing over and over again when I tried marketing and it didn't work, I would not be here. When you try an approach and it doesn't work, we have to have that oomph behind us, that 7 levels deep, as someone said, the why behind us to go, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this. That didn't work. Let me try this. There's no option with my son. I'm not going to try 7 times and go done and have the relationship with him as I had with my dad. Ain't going to be. I'm not carrying that tradition on. My dad never talked to his dad. When he was 12 years old, he stopped talking to his father because he physically abused him and never talked to him again. I guess I inherited that. And then me and my dad had similar issues because that's what his dad did. And then I started having that same shit with my son. Are you kidding me? Hell no, I'm breaking the pattern. Somebody's going to look back in the lineage of Graziosi boys and go, wow, my great-great-grandfather didn't talk to his dad, and my great-grandfather didn't talk to his dad, and my grandfather didn't talk to his dad. Oh, wow, me and my dad are tight. Somebody's got to break it. Someone's got to change it. Why not you? And when it comes to business, do you want to say my great-grandmother wanted to do her own thing, but that, it was too hard back in those days. And my grandmother, she was such a smart woman and independent, but, she was so busy raising kids. And my mom was gonna, but my parents got divorced, and she was... Don't you want to be the mom who goes, yeah, my mom felt that, but at 52, she said, to hell with it. At 39, at 27, at 64, she said, enough is enough. And my grandmother went after it. And I watched her take off to become the woman she was designed to be. They're the types of things that shift the world forever. They're the kind of things that change life. So you can make that decision during this change in the world, the change in our economy, the shift in our, our costs, the mindset shift. You could be the one that says, let's just see where this goes. Let's see if anything better happens. Or you say, hell no. I'm going to be the superwoman. I'm going to be the Superman. I want people to tell stories about going into 2022 when the recession happened. I want people to say, man, my crazy ass mom, my crazy ass dad, oh my God, things went this way. Everybody's talking how bad things were. And my dad, my mom, oh my God, they're reading, they're exercising, they're thinking positive, they're bringing up people in their life. She launched her business, she's thriving, she's independent. I want that story. Who wants that story? And that's why I do Inner Circle every month. All I want to do is keep you in the game long enough to not give up on you. You are here because you are meant for more. Is that true? If you had everything you wanted, if you were satisfied with where you are, it doesn't mean things are horrific. You'd be someplace else. You wouldn't be here with me. But you're here with me today. So we might as well get disturbed. We might as well act crazy. Because everybody else on here is crazy. And crazy's good. So when it comes to change, we have to try different approaches. So if you're a part of our mastermind family, Project Next, you're part of our community, if you haven't got your course up yet, it's okay. Time to go deeper. Time to try something different. Time to watch more education. Time to model other people. Find something that gives you leverage. Be disturbed with inaction. If it's time to start doing live videos, just go live. Just do it. You know, I see a couple of you that were on previous. I got invited to speak at an event earlier today, which I say no to most, but I said yes this morning. I'm glad I did. And I said something about, we already know what it feels like. We already know what it feels like when we have a desire and a dream and we don't do it. We already know what that feels like. You've been there. We've all been there before. We'd all be lying if we don't say, yeah, I've felt this before. I wanted to quit smoking and I didn't. I wanted to work out 5 days a week. I didn't. I wanted to stop eating so many carbs. I want to get rid of this 5 extra pounds around my waist, and I didn't. I wanted to start that business. I didn't. I wanted to get out of the job and do my own thing. I didn't. We already know, and we all have those. And guess what? We all know what that feels like. But what's it feel like? Do you have enough experience to say, I was scared and I did it anyway? I wasn't sure, but I jumped out of the plane and I grew wings on the way down. We need more of those experiences. Those are the ones we're going to cherish at the end of our lives. We're not going to cherish the complacency. We're not going to cherish playing small. And the fears that seem big now, oh my God, at 100 years old, you'd be like, that's the thing that held me back? That I was afraid somebody was going to make fun of my live video? You mean I didn't go after my full potential because I thought I was going to look stupid in front of my friends? Oh my God, can I go back and try over? That's just a fact. So maybe today's a little wake-up call, or a little call to action is like, how do we get disturbed with not taking action today a little bit more? Because you need to be a little bit better going into a recession. The cool part, most all of us on this training today, and over, I think there's 2,000 people here right now. Most all of us are in an industry that's exponentially growing. Self-education industry is on fire. We might be in the winter of an economy, but that industry is in its springtime. It is growing exponentially, right? So we got the opportunity to be a part of something that's growing exponentially. We have a life experience that someone else could absolutely use. Now it's just finding the rhythm to get you out there, the rhythm to make it happen, the rhythm to keep moving forward, to try alternative approaches. I know I kind of beat that up, but it's really important. The other thing is, I would say, this is the note I gave myself, when things change and they don't work, we have to be careful with falling back on what used to. Now, we can use our experience from the past. Take what serves us, but we can't go back to who we were because yesterday is gone. Yesterday's economy is gone. Yesterday's way to market is gone. Yesterday's experiences are gone. We have to be innovating and shifting. So that's why I really want to help build this muscle. I'll tell you another story that I don't share a lot. Tony Robbins, my partner and dear friend, when Tony shifted my life 25 years ago, and you guys know that story. It's why I'm in this industry, is because of him. And getting to know him for the last 12 years, he's more of a man behind the scenes than you would imagine. That, he's not the guy that puts the front on stage. He walks the walk, talks the talk, right? But when the world happened with COVID, and it shifted, all right, I'm just gonna say it like it is. We're family. I'm gonna pull back the curtain and really share something. Tony's been in business 44 years. There's nobody close to what he does. He's the best in the world. Anybody ever been to a Tony event? Right? Is there anybody better than that dude? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's Tony at what he does? Right? He's a 50. So I want to give you a little story here. What's up, Nikki Jade? I see you. So now the world shifts. COVID happens. Tony's got 15 live events planned for the year, thousands and thousands of people. His company's been doing the same thing for 42 years, 44 years, better than anybody on the planet, killing it, impacting lives, millions and millions of lives. The world shifts. I want to tell you, a whole company shifted. The cheese got moved. It's the reason I work with Tony on his company now as well, because Tony and I are talking. I said, brother, you're going to have to go virtual. And he's like, hell no, I am not going virtually. You know what I do. You've been to my events. I get in people's faces, and literally Tony will get tears in his eyes. He's like, somebody's going through thinking of committing suicide, and I find out on the way in they are. I can walk in the audience. I can stand them up. I can look in their eyes. They know I care. He's crying to me, telling me, I can't do that on a screen. What am I going to do? I can't do that. This is Tony Robbins. That because he's done it the same way forever, that shift was uncomfortable. It was scary. He thought, what if... You know what his thoughts were? What if I lose somebody? I haven't lost anybody that wanted to commit suicide for 42 years. What if I'm trying to do it on a screen and I lose somebody? Think of that. And now Tony's uncertainty of shifting to virtual had a team of 200. What do you think they felt like? Panicking, like, if our leader doesn't think we can change, hell no, we can't. And then guess what Tony does? He asks his buddy, Dean, to come in and be CEO and president of the company and shift it to virtual. How do you think that went over on day one? Right? Not Dean's a jerk or Tony's making bad. No, just I'm an outsider. They're Tony's my family, but now there's 200 employees that have been doing it the same way. When I went into that company and said, hey, we're going to do a free challenge to impact people all around the world at a time they need it the most. It was right when COVID started. Tony's never done a free challenge in his life. We're going to do something for free for 7 days, and it's going to be this challenge thing. Tony only does live. It's going to be virtual. He's going to do it with a bunch of people on a Zoom screen. Could you imagine what that team probably said about me when I wasn't looking at first? Seems like a nice guy, but ooh, cuckoo, right? Because they had been doing it the same way. Listen, I got to work with the greatest brand in the world. This is not like working with, it's Tony Robbins' brand. So let me just say it like it is. Amazing people, best content in the world. But still, what had to happen? We had to take a what? Alternative approach. It seems scary. I send Tony to a virtual event in South Carolina. I beg him, please go. No, I can't do it, Dean. I said, Tony, please, for me, as my brother, please go. He gets on a plane. He flies up to South Carolina where there's an event going on, and it's only on TV screens. And he calls me. He's like, I will never do this. I will never do an event where I'm looking at tiny little TV screens. And we're talking back and forth, and all of a sudden, he's the master at it. He finds an alternative approach in his head. He starts shifting, and he calls me. He goes, but I could do this bigger. Oh my God, what if we had 30-foot high ceilings and what if I could see 3,000 and all of a sudden, boom, it clicks. And he starts thinking of bigger screens. Look at the screen we have right now, right? I could see, this is a third of the size. The one at Tony's studio where we do the World Summit this is what I get to see, right? And we switch and I get to see everybody. I'll see all 1,000 of you by the time I'm done, right? At Tony's, it's 3 times bigger. It's twice as high and 3 times wider on both sides. He starts envisioning all this stuff, and now his team thinks he's crazy because he's going to spend $10 million on a studio. So he went from, I'm not going virtual, to, we're spending $10 million on a studio, go buy a big building. And now his team's like, what the F? This guy, Dean, he's just taking us down. He's not only sinking the ship, he put a bomb on it, right? And I have to tell you, it was scary for me because now my brother Tony's trusting me with going from in person for 40 years to doing a virtual event on a screen with a bunch of people. Talk about insanity. So now I'm like, let's do a challenge. And that's how we'll get people to come to the biggest UPW ever. I just want to tell you along the whole way, I got to give his team so much credit because I know their uncertainty must have been a 12 out of 10. And now Tony's friend is guiding the ship of, we're going to do a challenge, and day one we're going to do this, and day two we're going to do this. And what do you mean it's free? It's totally free. Not free. It's like, totally free? Yes, free. Like, we're just going to change a whole bunch of people's lives. And it seemed insane. Now, I want to tell you, was I scared to death? Absolutely, because it was more than money. I didn't even say, it wasn't about the money. It's like, Tony changed my life 25 years ago. He's my brother. I love him. And now it's like, I didn't want to let my brother down. So now it's all on my back. Only reason I'm telling you this is because I watched the greatest guy in the world resist change at first. But I watched, as soon as he made that decision, how it snapped. And he's the one that invented these big screens. Nobody had done that ever before. And we invented this next level big challenge. And since that day, online, we've seen about 5 million people through challenges in 190 countries around the world. We've impacted millions from home, right where they are. During COVID, when they were locked down, they could experience a 4-day UPW or a 7-day date with destiny or a 5-day business mastery. They could experience our 3 challenges that we did, the Own Your Future Challenge, where we put 900,000 people in. We got to do the Mastermind World Summit last year with 19,000 people. Because we made that shift, because we found an alternative approach. And the only reason I told that story, and I've never really told that story in depth, is because there's nobody in the world that knows how to shift. And Tony Robbins still had hesitation. So if he does, we do. And it's okay, but you can't let the hesitation win. You can't let the resistance win. What we have to do is find alternative approaches. If I gave up on my son, we wouldn't have a relationship. If Tony didn't shift and say, let's go all in on virtual, he wouldn't have impacted 5 million people over the last 2.5 years around the world that needed it. And maybe some people that couldn't afford to fly to America to see him or fly to Australia. They couldn't get on a plane and they didn't have the money, but they had the money to show up and play full out and their lives got transformed. Think of the 5 million people that got impacted that went and were better their husbands, better wives, better to their children, better spouses, better leaders, right? That impact, 5 million could be 50 million by today because we made a shift, because the outside world pulled the carpet out from underneath us and we had to come up with something new. So I told you that whole story is because how can you come up with something new today? How can it be a day you just think outside the box? Break a pattern of thinking. Stop watching the same news channel at the same time. Stop having certain thoughts at certain times. How about getting up a half hour earlier tomorrow and spend time just with you? Or in the middle of the day, instead of going lunch with a bunch of friends, how about spending a half hour lunch by yourself journaling about your bigger future? Or how you're going to finally do the stuff that you dreamed about? How can you shift it? How can you alter it? How can you think bigger? How can you stretch your thinking? What could you do today to stretch your thinking? You know, I was in, you guys maybe saw this on Monday, but I flew up to see my buddy Brendan Bouchard on Sunday, took my older kids with me. It was an amazing trip. And in the morning, I got up early, did my exercise routine, and I got dressed, and kids were still asleep. It was still like 7 o'clock, and I went and walked through the vineyards. And man, I wish I had more time. We were only in Napa for, I don't know, 15 hours total. But I had like an hour before I had to wake the kids up, and we were going to fly down to LA. And I started walking through the vineyards. And, you know, it's just a feeling, right? If you allow yourself in it. And I started thinking about 2 things. And if you saw me on Monday, I shared it from a vineyard. It was only like 7 minutes long. But I started thinking of how all of us rush to judgment. Man, I've tried this self-education thing for like 9.5 minutes. My bank account's not full. It's not working. I tried this thing. Nobody bought my first program. Who's going to believe in me? Why would they listen to me to find love or passion, intimacy, connection? Why would they listen to me? Why would they listen to me to go vegan? There's probably other books they can have, right? We judge this so fast, and then all of a sudden we're either on to something else or we give up on our dreams. Is that true? Right? And I started thinking as I'm walking through the vineyards, the day before, the night before, I'm with Brendan, and he bought this piece of property, and it's got an acre worth of grapes on it. And they planted all brand new grapes. And he's like, they told me when they planted them that we won't be able to harvest for 7 years. Like, really? He's like, yeah, about 7 years to be healthy enough grapes to make real wine. And he said, then once you harvest, it takes about 3 years to ferment it and barrel it and then bottle it to actually have good wine. So you're 10 years in. 10 years in. And then I started thinking, my brain works in really strange ways. Started thinking, imagine if you planted grapes and you're 2 years in and you just walked up to them and started screaming, "Grow! What is taking you so long? You're a pathetic grape bunch. Oh my God, 2 years in? I don't have any wine yet? You're the most pathetic grapes I've ever experienced in my life. You're done. Get a bulldozer. I'm knocking them all down." That's how you treat yourself. You're screaming at yourself to be a 7-year-old grape that's fermented and perfect when you're 2 years in. We give grapes they need their time. They need to mature. They need to learn, grow, but we don't do that to ourselves. Imagine if you bought like a really fancy racehorse and you wanted to be in the horse and the horse was like 6 months old and you put it in the Kentucky Derby and it didn't win. You're like, "You pathetic loser of a horse, somebody shoot you." The horse needs time. It's got to practice, got to rehearse, got to grow muscles, got to have the confidence, got to be able to race against other people, know what it's like to be, have a jockey on their back. Like all those things need to happen and you can't rush it. But we'll get involved in a new business or want to shift our lives or have new thoughts and bust old beliefs. And when we're not different in 18 minutes, we start saying, "This doesn't work for me. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm pathetic. I can't do this. My family's right." Like, no. We need to give ourselves grace. And as long as we are moving forward, as long as we're a better version today than we were last week, last month, last year, we're moving forward. Some of you, listen, with Tony and I have been teaching self-education now for 4 years because it's been our passion. We knew we wanted to do this. And we're having the time of our lives. And the truth of the matter is, and you guys see it in the Mastermind Facebook group, there's some people who get the course and in 30 days they got their first sale. You guys see it sometimes. It's amazing to watch it. And yesterday, I don't know if I'm not going to look on my phone. I get too many texts because it's probably a long ways away. Yesterday, my team sent me a post where someone said, "I got involved with you with KBB 2.5 years ago. And I was really excited and I gave up on myself. And then I was really excited again and I gave up on myself. And I just said, this isn't for me. And then 6 weeks ago, I saw you on a Monday and I said, enough is enough. And I went all in and I have 13 sales in the last 6 weeks." It's all about staying in the game. It's all about not allowing ourselves to fall out. And listen, if this is not for you, that's okay. You're still a part. There's some people that are part of our inner circle for almost a decade and you're not in this space. That's okay, right? But do something. You know, the last thing I want to end with is the conversation. I had great conversations with my kids on the way. I told them it was a business trip. I said, no TikTok, no Snapchat. We're going to have a business trip. You guys are going to be adults on this trip. I made them come to dinner with me, with Brendan. I made them come to lunch with me, with Brendan. I made them sit through Mastermind. They were like, in the inside, they're probably like, "Oh my God, I hate my dad," right? No, they were pretty awesome. But on the way up, I said something to them that I want to reiterate to you. I just got done reading a Coach John Wooden book, and I may have mentioned this in a previous, live on a Monday. I hope it's the self-education industry that you go all in on. I hope. I want to see every single one of you having the success that so many are already having. But if it's not that, whatever it is, I love what John Wooden said. Success is not winning the game. He won 10 championships as the best college basketball coach in history. 10 championships. Before him, the most were 3. And he won 10, 7 of them in a row. And he said he never talked about, I have 26 sales every day from 0 to 30,000 a month. Damn, Khalid, nice job. That should inspire all of us. Don't be envious. Realize if anybody can do it, you can do it. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. He said, I never said we're going to win a championship. I never said we're even going to win a game. All I ever did for the 25 years as I coached is help these kids reach their full potential. If they would just go all in to be the best version of themselves, to get a different voice in here, to go and push yourself. And he said, there's no such thing as 120%. When coaches said, tonight we're giving 120, there is no 120. He goes, I just want to get people at like 98%, just to be the best version of them. Because I know if I can help them be the best version of them, every single one of them had the potential inside of them of greatness. He said, and when I worked on helping people be the best version of them, the byproduct was we won games. A lot of them. They went 3 years straight at one point without losing a game. And if you ever study UCLA basketball team with Coach Wooden, the only superstar they really ever had was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. For those old enough to remember Kareem with his hook shot. But they never had superstars. He built teams of people living into their full potential, and their byproduct was they won championships. So one of the last messages I want to share with you guys today, in this shifting world, in a time of uncertainty, in a time of change, what can we do collectively to just push ourselves to be the best version of us, to overcome old obstacles and create new stories, to step into understanding things take time like grapes, to stretch our goals and be bigger, bolder, stronger than we've ever done? How do we push ourselves? How do we become the best version of ourselves? Because then, when you do that, when you turn around, your first sale's there. Your 50th sale is there. Your mastermind explodes from 10 girls to 50 girls. We get to dictate all of it. Think about all the things that were once just a dream or a thought in your head or now are a reality in your life and you take it for granted. Think about that. So today, my goal, my dream was for us to get together. I didn't know the 2 stories I was going to share, but I wanted to talk about anticipating and preparing so we don't react. And I think we accomplished that today. I appreciate all the amazing comments. I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of this family. You guys get to watch this over and over. If you're watching the replay, glad to have you here. Watch this, feel it, let it sink in. The world is shifting. Who cares? Let's be the thermostats, not the thermometers. We get to adjust our lives any way we want. We could be scared and freeze, and be Superman and Superwoman and be the heroes of our own lives as we shift. I appreciate you guys so much. Be ready for our Time to Thrive Challenge. It's August 2nd through the 6th. You guys are all invited. It's absolutely free. It's probably Tony and I's last big challenge. We're shooting for 1 million people, so make sure when we go live, you share it and try to get as many friends as you can. It's going to be off the charts. I think I told you guys last month, but we have Matthew McConaughey coming this year to talk about his book, Green Lights, and how he went into the self-education industry. And got some big surprises. I'm talking with him again tomorrow, talking about potentially doing a course together because he wants to be in our industry and loves Mastermind, loves what we do. We got some other amazing guests, so August 2nd through the 6th is going to be powerful. So put it on your calendar. I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you next month. Bye, everybody.